Welcome everybody to our last, I guess, deep dive discussion of the King, the Eternal Monarch. And with me is Ty Black, Nat Fox, and Caitlin Plesher. Welcome, ladies. It's the full gang.
It's the full gang.
This has been a wacky and wild ride. Going from the Goblin to this would be like Whiplash, I think.
Oh my god.
Is this what it's gonna be this time? Is just us laughing kind of awkwardly about some of the stuff that happened?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. Probably.
I don't know what I was expecting with these last 4 episodes. A lot of the I expected time travel because I think that was like heavily hinted at, but there was so much time travel that it was like almost overwhelming, and you like could get lost with a lot of things. So were we confused, ladies?
Yeah, I think as somebody who's really invested in time travel as a sci-fi mechanism, and we've spoken about this earlier on this earlier streams, but it has to have a logic. It has to have something that makes sense, and a lot of it fell apart for me. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, cool.
Yeah. It has to have some logic.
Yeah,
and I think now that I'm 12 hours post the King Eternal Monarch, I kind of feel like this whole show is just like a hodgepodge of scenes, just kind of stitched together, and it felt like that was for confusion, like for the story and for like the time travel element. But then like the last few episodes were still just a hodgepodge of scenes kind of stitched together. And it was like they were just telling you that he was time traveling, but there wasn't, it was just like, oh, now he's in a different, but it wasn't just time travel. It was like just infinite parallel universes.
Like it suddenly turned into a fluffy version of Sliders.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know what I was expecting, and I'm not really sure what we got either.
Yeah.
Just
like it defies genre, it defies any trope within that genre. It just exists as it is, and it's a good thought study and experiment in how you can easily lose the narrative plot thread and conflict if you're just focused on making really cool scenes look really cool.
And yet I had like a
modicum
of enjoyment out of it.
I cried. So
yeah.
So if you look at like the other dramas like the directors have worked on, you can see how this mess of a show like actually came together.
Yes.
Because you're like, okay, they obviously took like one of the most popular writers and then some of the most popular directors of some of the most popular dramas that have all been well received internationally, and they just shoved them all together. And you can see that that's literally what we got. It's like this Frankenstein monster of great moments or great ideas or great concepts or great chemistry, but it's pieces, and it's kind of like all over the place sometimes. But I don't know. I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it
either. It's amazing how much a fluffy ending will heal many wounds.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who I'm saying that to. Lucasfilm. You forgive a lot with a good ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm just so tepid on the whole show. Like I don't think I'm mad at it, but I'm also like, what happened? Like what was I here for?
Yeah, like what was the point of all this? Because like in the end, and maybe we'll go into the episodes just after this, but in the end we had 3 characters that remember the events of what happened. And to me that like if everybody kind of had a memory of their alternate self, like I think that would actually be very fundamentally interesting to say the world progressed forward after whatever happened, and like the kid flute that's what I'm calling him now because I think he was actually the flute. Maybe.
The human personification of the flute. Okay, yeah, I got it.
I mean, maybe, but I think it would have been more interesting if everybody had remembered, like you remembered, like your parallel universe self had killed you and stuff like that. I think that would have been a bigger message than just the 3 people remembering what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was so interesting. And I'm sure we'll talk about it in the last episode, but like all the different versions of themselves were really confusing. And by the time we got to the last timeline, I guess like where Jo Young and Lee Gon were in 1994, and then they both stayed in that timeline, I like wasn't 100% sure like what was going on. And so for a while I was like, wait, aren't there 2 Lee Gons? Now, like, is he still the king? I'm confused. Did his dad actually die? Like, there were just so many things that I don't really felt were entirely wrapped up the way they could be. But only having, like, I think the choice to let Jo Young keep his memories was interesting and not let anyone else, because I understand if we let our 2 mains keep their memories, but then just kind of having him keep his,
because
and like
he was out of time. Those 3 were out of time. I think that made sense.
Yeah, that's true.
The impression that I got from that was that he was such a fan favorite that they probably had plans to kill him initially, and then they brought him back, but they didn't show it because they just explained it off screen. I don't know. I believe just a theory, but like,
yeah, I believe that too.
I thought it was really interesting that they showed April 2020 and there was no plague, no quarantining, no, like, and like South Korea has been very, very strict about what they've been doing. So it was just really interesting. It's like they tried to tell this story with the assumption like time will be fine, and it's like, well, actually now we can assume that that's an alternate reality from even our own,
yeah,
I guess. All right, let's talk about episode 13, or what I've nicknamed Things Get Confusing. Because, we start out with realizing that Lady No is from probably this other, like, Tails world. And we have the confrontation with Prime Minister Ko. And Luna is, like, hanging out and taking over Tails' life in the other world.
And how much of that actually matters?
I mean, none of it.
I don't know what matters.
So I actually think that the theory that I have is that there actually is only one flute, and that Lady No got to where she is because of that one flute, and she brought it with her to that world.
Oh. And
I kind of like the idea that like Yo-Yo Boy is like a personification of it, but because like I don't know, like he did have it looked like he had an alternate, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But like I think the writer had that whole thing worked out. Like I think she actually had it figured out as far as like how it worked and how the time travel worked, and she obviously went the fate route as opposed to like logic route. Like she you know what I mean, like she went more for like what is fate, what is fated, but maybe she had some other scenes she wanted to do that just maybe the directors didn't envision correctly, or they just didn't want to do.
I think a lot got edited out. I think it like got chopped up and put back together in a way that they might have tried to make sense of certain plot lines more than others, and that just kind of like got left on the cutting room floor.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we first found out that Lady No came from the other world, did she say that someone like approached her basically from the Kingdom of Korea? Yeah. And then like took her
to save her from the war.
Yeah, like from in the middle of the Korean War. So that person who came from the Kingdom of Korea,
they had the flute.
They had the flutes. Or
I think that was
Flute Boy himself, and
maybe I thought it was Lee Gong's grandfather. I thought
it was. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, because Lee Nim kept saying, "My dad, these are my dad's pillars." because he had seen the pillars before, or his dad had told him about
I think
the
you're
pillars.
correct about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the danger of exposition, where you tell instead of show, is that you end up with so many circumstances where it's just like the information gets glossed over and it's forgettable, and that's kind of one of the detriments that we found through the show. So
yeah,
agreed.
Ligon found out that Lady No was from the other world. Did he reference that in the last episode?
I think so.
Or it felt like he was referencing that when he was saying goodbye to her for the second or last time.
I did think that's what was happening, but I don't think that's what was happening. But I know I was on that train of thought.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That was a lot of scenes were like that. I was on like a certain train of thought. I'm like, okay, they're trying to tell me one thing, and then it wouldn't go there. And I was like, oh, okay. Is that a me problem?
No. Everybody in chat is doing the same thing. They're like, thank God I'm not the only one. Oh my God.
So we have this whole, like, what if your doppelganger kills you type scenario that happens in episode 13. That really is triggered off by Luna, like, attempting to take over, but then also like attempting to kill her. But then she's like, I really didn't feel it, because I would be sad for your dad if, like, that all gets resolved very quickly in the next episode, which feels like, what I guess the point was that she learned her lesson. I don't know. I do think that there was something kind of cool about her being stabbed, about like the stabbing, the poisoning of Li Gong, the fact that Li Gong knew that it wasn't her. Like, there was a lot of cool stuff with that. And also we got the, hey, what if Senjay got to kiss Taeol, but it was actually her evil doppelganger situation.
Yeah, it was just a second. It was never brought up again.
No.
And we never got any indication that Luna was interested in Shinjay.
I mean, in the last episode, we get that, like, little interplay between
that was
their
so
alternate versions of themselves, and like like enemies to lovers. She's a criminal and he's a police officer still, and like I don't know.
I think that's what they were trying to say. I think that they
were meant to be together, and that Shinjay,
in that universe,
in universe, in the other universe, and Taeol and Shinjay were like passing ships that were never meant to be together, and that's what the fate thing, to Ty's point, was trying to be said. Like, you cannot, and that comes out if you kind of can change your lens to view, okay, this is not supposed to make sense. This is fate, not like science fiction. Don't
take it too seriously, don't think too deeply, just ride the waves of the fact that everybody has a soulmate, and if you're separated by interdimensional travel, then it can mess things up.
Just a little.
I did appreciate the time they took to mend everything, because it really showed you that I do think that's what the whole story was about. It was like, hey, this is where everybody's at. They're not supposed to be here. Like, because as we found out, like, people were literally not where they were supposed to be in time or in different dimension. And the fact that they corrected all of that and they didn't muddle things up anymore, like, that was pretty cool. Like, again, it just means that, like, the writing was like there, like, she knew what she was doing. She knew the point she was trying to make. It's just some things got lost along the way.
Yeah, it got lost in the what scenes they chose to keep to show us. And I found the timing of the episodes to be really weird. Like, some episodes were like 90 minutes and some episodes were like 60 minutes. Like, it felt like it jumped all over the place from a length perspective.
It's true.
Yeah, so it's like they've tried to shove in extra scenes that, like, I don't know. That's death by editing right there.
It really is. And I think that's one of the things that the only thing that I would ever really criticize for the show is the editing itself, because of the amount of confusion it caused the audience, and I think it lost a lot of the audience, at least as far as my drama mutuals, pretty early on because of it. And It's just a shame because otherwise the drama is actually pretty good and the story and the characters are really interesting and intriguing. It's just that you can get confused so easily for no payoff, you know? Like, it's nice if you can be confused and then have everything kind of clarified later, but then you just got used to being confused to the point where, okay, well, I'm just going to ignore that because it doesn't really matter. And it probably won't even play out as an important plot point at the end. So,
yeah. I mean, like, what were we supposed to have learned from each of the characters? And maybe we'll take that into our like overall conversation. Just kind of start to think about that, because I think that that's where, if a point was trying to be made and they went about these things this particular way, and we didn't learn anything about the characters in the end with how they ended up, then I think that it does fail on many levels, unfortunately. Right? Because you're supposed to it's supposed to mean something that you've, you know, gone through this journey with these characters, not just the three that remember things and have grown because of that. I do think that we see the growth between the three because they remember things, but is it clearer that we can see, hey, there was some sort of healing that happened for everybody? Maybe. All right, so episode 14, or we discovered that the flute is the little boy.
Really?
Really?
I think so. Because he talks about
he talks about the story. He tells like the story of it.
Yeah, he tells
that's the one that opens up with him talking to his like Lee Gan's alternate's mom.
Yeah,
and it's just like immediately drops you into nonsense.
It's like I'm gonna have to take your word on that because I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, like he's like everything is broken, everything is split, and I can't grow up. But I guess we discover in the end he can't grow up because of it, because he's
been there the whole time, but as an older guy.
I don't know.
That was my favorite part, really, was that they that was like the most it was like watching a YouTube video on Easter eggs in films. It's like, ooh, look, do you remember seeing that guy in that scene? That was the flute.
That was the flute. When they did the whole montage, I was like, what am I watching?
What does it even matter?
Did I miss this? Did I miss all of this?
And like that's the layer of confusion, because it's like on top of having time travel, interdimensional travel, doppelgangers, like all of this stuff that you have to accept, it's through another language, and then also the editing doesn't lean into it and give enough space to make sure that we as the audience can follow along.
Yeah, well, like comparing the deities in Goblin, the deities in Goblin were like pretty important roles, and they showed up from the beginning through the end in different iterations, and we were very clear as to what they were kind of doing and manipulating in the story. Whereas Yo-Yo Boy, and again, I feel like I've forgotten a lot of details in this show altogether, but the only like concrete thing I remember him doing is helping free Taeul when she was in the kingdom, when she was trapped in the kingdom of Korea. Yeah. And that was episode like 9 or something like that. And everything else, he's just kind of been like every couple episodes saying something cryptic, and then shot of Yo-Yo.
And he in the end, he only has the choice to like let them remember or not.
Which I didn't even know he had that power. So
yeah, I'm assuming he's the flute, but who knows? He could be something else, fate, etc., because he's got the red string and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I assume he's the flute.
There's something weird to be said about kind of like the way that scenes are edited in Korean dramas versus like other Asian dramas, because there is like a weird trend, I want to say, with more modern dramas where they do like this fast scene thing. Like there are like less than 1 second clips that they will mesh together, and you're like, it's not like fast in order to be like a montage, but it's like actually giving you a piece of information, and it's too fast especially when you're reading subtitles. But it's a stylistic thing that they do a lot in Korean dramas these days, and it really drives me crazy. But I will say that is like, it's like indicative of some, you know, more popular Korean dramas right now. I wish they would stop doing it.
And it's juxtaposed with those, like, you know, like the very soap opera long shot staring from multiple angles,
kisses from multiple angles, zoomed in.
And it's like,
it is interesting how they do this a lot in Asian dramas. They take a lot of risks. They take a lot of like, oh well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Like in the I'm jumping around, but in the final the battle scene, like when they're shooting up the place, they do a bunch of long shots, and it was with Lee Gon and Jo Young.
They were showing off for sure.
Yeah,
dude, that was expensive.
It was super expensive.
Yeah.
Super expensive, but that's what they do. Like you said, Nat, like they want to juxtapose it between kind of the longer shots and the fact that they have to play like the soundtrack because soundtracks are so important.
They paid for it.
Yeah. Oh, and the product placement. Yeah.
Oh my
God.
Oh
yeah, you need that $2,500 LED face mask.
Is that how much it is?
Yes.
And they had was it when I'm trying to remember what episode it is. It's when Lee Gong meets Tail introduced. It's in episode 13. He introduces Lee Gong, or she introduces Lee Gong to her dad as her boyfriend, and there's like it's like constant. It
was like
that
it
moment.
was literally a 2-minute commercial.
Yeah, like meet your future son-in-law while eating kimchi
out of a bag.
Out of a bag. That was weird. Okay, so I do want to spend some time and talk about, because we got the reliving of the night from the intro episode, and I felt like, although stuff that happens later on is a little bit more confusing, like how he rewrites stuff and like that, but I did like that he relived that moment. I thought that was really well done. Although the Lee Lim killing himself moment is like the grandfather problem again, and I don't. But yet in reverse, like because the younger version kills the older version of himself, and I'm like, doesn't that mean he's dead? Like I didn't understand how he was still alive after that.
They messed it up because they decided they were going to do both a time loop and the other side. Yeah. They did both.
I don't understand. I'm not smart enough. I don't know. Like I feel dumb.
I think that was my exact tweet after I watched episode 13 and 14 and 15, whatever the however it went out. But I was like, I don't think I'm smart enough for this show. Because when he first killed his older self, I was like, oh, that's why, because they talk about like how young he is and stuff all the time. And I'm like, oh, that's why he never ages, because he's actually the younger version. And he's just kind of adopted the persona of the older version of himself. And I was like, oh, got it. I can get that far. And then quickly I was like, oh no, that's not what happened. And that's not even true.
I thought that because he killed he killed the older self, the younger self killed the older self. I was like, okay, it's time loop. They're all stuck in a time loop. And I thought, oh, Lee Gon, stuck in a time loop. He's going to age. Like he is stuck in the past. But then like, I guess he was hanging out in the in-between.
Going in and out to like, he couldn't get the timing right for when he was supposed to meet up with Taeol, even though he's been counting time the whole time.
Yeah, and don't try to keep track of the actual halves of the flute after they disappear and then apparently are still there. Like,
so I read somebody said that, when we see Lee Gon standing in the field and his flute like starts to disappear, somebody said they cut away before the whole thing disappears.
Well, does it get put back together again? Like, what's
he just has like the nub.
I guess he still has a piece of it.
I don't understand.
That doesn't make sense.
I don't get it either. I think that maybe, and I don't know, I have to look this up, but I know some dramas are written in a way that they write it as it's airing.
This is pretty much, I think, what was going on here.
At least they were
shooting.
I heard that it was shooting until the end of March,
end of May. Until
it was airing,
basically.
So maybe she was writing through the shooting, or maybe she was. I don't know. Like, it's very odd though, because that part doesn't line up to me at all.
It doesn't line up at all.
We're confused. That's the outcome
Let's
of that.
I mean, we don't have to try and sort it out mentally, because I think that we had our theories and we were like, if they don't come true, that's fine. But it's also just like, okay.
Thank you for the reminder, Nat.
Yeah.
I need that.
So
And
I'm gonna
through
pour
this-
one out for my theories though, because I definitely thought that, you know, Shinjae was the shooter and it was Lee Gon, and everybody out there, you know, I'm sorry. Anyway.
I thought there was 2 gates.
Oh yeah, Marie Claire told me that. I was like, hell yeah.
But weren't they, at one point wasn't Taeul searching for the other gates?
Everybody
yeah,
was.
and Lee Gong mentioned there was a second gate.
Yeah.
I think that the second gate was supposed to be in the bookstore. And that's why everybody kept coming out of the bookstore.
That makes sense.
That's what and I thought it was his painter's shop too.
Conspiracy theory. Where's my second
I think they did
gate?
too.
Do you
they
remember?
mentioned it, but then suddenly they're all going through the same gate. But that totally contradicts what happened in the very beginning when Lee Gon put all those guards at that gate.
Yeah,
and like
then
nothing
cross,
happened.
and it's like they're in different reality gates. Like that to me, like in
Oh,
this
when
episode,
they were like on top.
yeah, and like they're the mirror image, and like it was beautiful. That was a beautiful scene, but like it would have made more sense if they were at different gates entering and stuff like that.
Did they ever converse like in the World Between Worlds? Because I was also waiting for that standoff too.
No, Taeul got that with him.
Yeah.
I thought there was a scene where there were all these people running out of the bookstore. Remember that? There were a ton of people clad in black, and like they shot them all. I don't know if y'all talked about that last time, but like I was like, I watched that and I was like, they're coming from the bookstore. They're like the gates in the bookstore. Like it has to be.
Yeah.
It's the only theory that I was like, hands down.
I would hope that there was a explanation of the, you know, why the time stops working for one versus the other, and how long. I mean, it was supposed to last forever, you know.
Yeah, it was getting to the point where it was gonna like be forever.
But no, he just walks in. He's followed by his 2 pals, and I'm gonna just.
So. This episode was kind of interesting because she had all these like memories throughout the course of this episode after being stabbed by Luna. Like basically it's just like, he's coming, and then she's in the hospital, but we don't really see that, and then she leaves the hospital to go and get Luna, and then I don't understand.
That happens. They jumped forward.
Yeah, I mean, that was happening all over the place, like
it
in
was
this show.
Bizarre,
but this one particularly, I was like, what?
Yeah, that was really weird that they just decided to jump forward with the Luna interrogation. They kept doing that too. Like later when she was like, Taeul was obviously in a different location, they would go back to that, and I'd be like, no. When is this? What is happening?
It was so confusing. It's weird because I think episode 14 is probably my favorite out of the batch. Aside from like obviously getting the fluffy ending in episode 16, but I feel like episode 14 like tracked. I was following it the most, even with this like super bizarre editing with Taeul and Luna and like the poisoning. It was, I think we experienced it in earlier episodes too, when they did that whole scene with Taeul and Lee Gon in the field, like in the beautiful field, and we were all like, what is this?
And then they went back to it a couple of times, and it was like,
and I'm like, why? And like the poisoning of Lee Gon, I was like, wow, that's so cool. But then they never really kind of pick up like how they found him, how they found out it was Luna, how they got her, like where are they when they're interrogating her. It was so strange.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what did we think about him showing up to her as a 5-year-old and a 27-year-old, and showing up to Jo Young, and you know the other incidences where he would, you know, messing with the timeline and then rewriting everybody's memories. What did you think about that?
That was probably the easiest thing for me to suspend my logic on, as far as like
me too.
What, like her getting these memories kind of in the present day. The thing that tripped me up though was at the end when she was like, make sure you hug him, and then like she
hugged him.
That kind of
it was like
me
she
up,
was remembering it in that moment, and I'm like, that's not how time travel works.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter. It's
that was that's the easiest thing for me to be like, okay, cool.
I think the biggest thing for me was really like, The way they treated it when they see him again after he shows up through all those time travel things is not that they had that whole experience with him once he shows up on Maximus. It's that everybody's remembering seeing him before that. And it's like, wouldn't you have gone through that sort of epiphany a while ago? When you actually encountered him again, now he'd just be old hat. He'd be like, oh yeah, it's Lee Gong.
That's where you have the issue with there's actually multiple timelines going on, but there's not. Like, no. That's where the logic kind of falls apart.
And they don't introduce the other timelines until the very last episode, or the other universes.
The other universes, yeah. I agree. Like, I liked the drama of it. I liked the drama of her remembering things and the other characters remembering things. I thought that was really cool, and it could have been consistent if they would have been consistent.
Impossible at this point, really, with that complexity.
Well, they had that scene, remember the one where he's in I think it was like episode 9 or 10, where he came to her and it was the time when she was like, oh, he's coming to me from a different time.
Yeah.
I totally thought we were going to see it from his perspective at some point in the last 2 episodes. And we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't. And then they redid it to be
like when she finally recognizes
when he finally manages to find her after
the right version of her.
Yeah, like the real version of her who remembers everything, and he was surprised at that, which was cool. But maybe he had tried to go to that time period or so. I don't know. Or maybe this is an idea, because there's multiple flutes, that's an alternative reality version of him.
Okay.
Sure.
There's multiple flutes, yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah. They could have been him from another. You
won't give me multiple gates. I will take multiple flutes.
No, but he did say what he said was that, there will come a time where I will disappear because of the time stops when people cross over the gate. I don't know. I felt like when they disappeared the flowers, when the flowers disappeared and she saw that they were disappearing, I was like, oh, they changed it. Literally she rewrote it.
Yeah.
I agree. Her necklace doesn't disappear. No. Everything else disappears, but not her necklace.
Unless she actually just went out and bought it because she remembered that she got it. I don't know. I had to think through that one a lot. I was sitting there, and then I was like, at some point, if you thought about it for more than 30 seconds, you probably should just give up, Natasha, because it's not going to make sense anyway, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I thought the necklace, it was the only thing that I could have kind of accepted, because the necklace, because the symbolism with the necklace was that he put a box in every single potential outfit, so that means the necklace had to stay symbolically.
She was wearing it in the in-between too, so I don't know, she came out of the in-between.
That's true.
Everything that she had with her in the in-between
was on her,
and she had it in the in-between. That's what I'm saying.
All right, I'll accept that.
The only thing I can make sense in the last
that makes sense. Was it intentional though? Was that the reason?
Because it was product placement. Yes.
Yeah. Good point.
Yes.
Product placement. Today.
So we had in episode 15 soft hospital time. I'm talking where he does her hair. He sleeps with her in the bed, which all the nurses would have come in there and bitched him out over that. They would have been like, no, you're not allowed to. Yeah.
Especially during a pandemic.
Yeah, it was April,
April 2020.
Oh, Lord.
Nobody was wearing PPE. What's going on? Well, this is
0 out of 10 stars. This fails logic of our universe.
Well, I mean, obviously it's an alternative dimension.
Yeah, we're just kidding. I thought that was really sweet, though. I was looking for some more of those poignant moments. I think that they might have gotten criticism for not including as much of that in the earlier episodes, and actually effort this time. So
they watched this and then they were like, "Oh, we gotta."
You're right.
No,
you can't just have her say "I love you" after 2 episodes of fighting.
Exactly.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Although, if she has all these memories now, there's if they had actually made a point of saying. Hey, I actually remember you.
Sense, right?
That would have been, I suddenly remember that you were there when I was 5 and then again when I was 27. That would have made sense, but they didn't use that. They didn't use their own inconsistencies for their advantage.
And it's common in so many dramas, but especially time travel dramas. You are always going to have a scene where they're meeting at a you know, as kids or as a, you know, adult and kid or other things. Reincarnation does it too. Like it's just a standard drama trope. I think it comes from like the whole human idea that you would just love to know your significant other as a child because it just you want to, like, you know, they're the person that you love.
Like they were okay when they were a child, and you know, yeah.
I think that's really sweet. It's such a common trope, but I love that it's so endemic to the genre, whether it's Korean dramas or Chinese dramas or Taiwanese dramas, you know.
Yeah, they always find a way to fit it in there in the most ridiculous ways, and I love it every time. I eat it up. Yeah. And it's interesting they couldn't do it with this one in the way that they couldn't make him a kid and have them meet. They could have done it, but I know why they didn't do it, because it wouldn't have made sense at all. Like it would
because that universe League On is like, you know, like I thought that was really interesting, is that there is another League On still around who doesn't know anything.
Just so clueless. I thought when she like collapsed on the floor or on the ground crying that like the other League On was going to turn around. I was like, right, like there's something there, but no, he just kept walking.
It's not the same person. It's not. They actually kind of did that very well in terms of like making them completely different people, like
almost opposites, right?
Like Shinjae, like, and how they asked him, well, who are you? And he goes, I'm still trying to figure that out. Like there was some really cool, poignant moments with that idea that they can look exactly like you and they can have a very similar path, like a similar trajectory as you, but totally different people.
And with the flute kid, I think it goes back to him saying in one of his cryptic scenes earlier on when he's speaking to Luna about the red string on his yo-yo. I tied this string myself, and I think he was referring to the fact that Taewol and Lee Gong were fated, regardless of the fact that they were in alternate dimensions from each other.
Wait, so Yo-Yo Kid is like the red string guy from Ashes of Love?
The Moon Immortal, the fox.
Yeah, the fox spirit. Yes, he is.
I did think about him as kind of like a trickster god in a way.
Well, that's what God was in Goblin, right? He was very trickster-esque, right? Like he was. I mean, he obviously he showed up as the younger, you know, Chabul character. So
maybe that's what she was going for. Like when she wrote that character, she was trying to do something a little different, but she liked the concept as the same, similar to the Goblin one.
I mean, saying I tied this string myself is like just like such a. It's that mythology coming forward. So
very true, very true.
I like it.
There's a few things I did want to talk about in episode 15. Prime Minister Ko trying to threaten Lee Lim and failing miserably, and then like her calling her mom. Yeah. And this is the confusing thing that confused that, but I got it right away. She had told her mom in an earlier episode, if I ever ask you what you ate for dinner, you say mackerel. And she didn't say mackerel, so that means that her mom had been replaced by a doppelganger. That's all that it was trying to say. Personal horror, you're the person that you love most in the world, regardless of how terrible of a human you are, has been replaced by their alternate reality version.
But it had no consequence.
No,
it never came up again.
I didn't even get that. Did not get that at all.
It was so confusing when you first watch it, because you're like, okay, well, what's gonna happen to her mom?
Nothing
and then
happens.
Nothing because happens. They rewrite the timeline, obviously.
They rewrote the timeline, and she ends up in jail because she's a terrible human.
I guess they were trying to show us that was the consequence, like that he swapped out her mom for somebody else. He killed her actual mother, most likely.
Yes.
But like they didn't really do a good job of showing us that she had gone to like the extreme, because from the very beginning, like she was such a badass, and like everyone rooted for her. Like everybody was rooting for her.
I thought he was
cool. Yeah, she was the coolest. Yeah, and even like when she was like, "I'm going to get the flute" and stuff like that, I'm like, well, she's not, because she's going to learn her lesson, because she's dealing with things she doesn't quite understand. And then it happened so fast, and it was like, but
yeah, and we never see her deal with the fact that her counterpart was killed, that her doppelganger was killed.
And did she kill herself?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Like we don't see that at all either.
Yeah.
She's
I don't
dead.
think she did.
We don't know if. Well, she kind of hinted at it. She's like, "You have no idea what I've done to Li Gong."
I think she killed. I think she killed herself.
I think she did
but
too.
it didn't. Yeah, it didn't like lead into it as much because again, like if they're not showing us that, if they're not showing us that confrontation, then that usually means that like she's gonna be like redeemed or she's gonna have more of a role to play in this whole thing later on. And they just didn't do that.
They did the same thing. I'm so sorry to interrupt,
okay.
but
No.
they did the same thing with the whole, okay, my Li Gong was like, okay, my cousin is going to be the next heir. And then they have an off-screen in America car crash and he's upset about it. They show it. And then you'd have no, and then Coke talks about it and you're like, I don't even know who that person looks like. And I don't know why it's important. And she says somebody else did it. I can't remember the names. Obviously that's my bad because I'm not any Korean speaker, but you got so much where it was like, okay, you're telling me this, but why?
Yeah, like what was the plan here?
Yeah.
I know, I don't remember the person who died, but I know the person who did it was the pregnant lady.
Oh yeah, you're right. The pregnant lady.
Yeah. And because she made another deal to go back and that's what she was apparently used for. But I don't remember.
Those storylines are connected?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of that. Yeah.
Because it's like, honestly,
so fast
really
and like didn't mean anything and like they didn't film it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who actually memorizes every single name? Because if you're not a Korean speaker, like it's really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, like that they're gonna keep having the same problem if they keep trying to make these dramas consumable for like international audiences, is that like we're watching it aesthetically, like, and we're reading those subtitles and we can't make those connections. Like it's just too hard. Like I watched so many K-dramas and I still like Chinese names are easier to remember than
it's true
Korean names.
Yeah.
So weird. I think maybe it's because I've watched more K-dramas than C-dramas, but I think that K-dramas are easier. Yeah. But I know that it took a long time for me when I first started watching Asian dramas and K-dramas in particular to like one, be able to hear the names when they're being said, but then also recognize that they're usually not actually saying their names. They're saying, you know, like Hyung or Ni or calling them by their title, like Didi Nim and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, whoa, okay. Now I'm tracking a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that one out pretty quick. But that's another problem with the names for me, is that they're saying like Nim and that kind of stuff. And I hear that. But like I'm reading the name. Yeah. And it's just, I'm reading the name. I'm not usually hearing the name and it's just not clicking in the same way I think that it should.
I do want to pour one out for Lee Lim's plan that he never got to execute, which was to at Lee Gong's mother's memorial have the alternate version of Lee Gong's mother come back from the dead.
Been so cool
and dramatic. Like it was extra on a different level of like
like so evil,
like so like, and then have like Lee Gong like react to that, and he was probably gonna do something like, I hate you, Lee Gong, like, but then she's like no, I'm not gonna participate in this. I'm going to poison your food and eat your poisoned food as like, because I have to eat your food to prove it's not poisoned, and then you're gonna eat a little bit of that food, and then I'm gonna spit blood all over you,
but not enough to kill you.
Yeah,
not enough to kill you because you had one bean, and I started laughing and gave away the joke.
I liked that moment a lot because she wanted to die more than she wanted to kill him. Like she just really wanted to die. And I was like, well, good for her. She got exactly what she wanted. And she kind of got that last laugh kind of thing. And then time stopped. So I was like, ha, like you won't be able to revive her. And it was just like, it was really cool. It was, but then of course he runs away and we didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
She died off screen like everybody else in this drama.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I think this drama would have benefited a lot, honestly, from cutting so much of the parent storylines.
Yeah.
Like Shinjae's parents.
Shinjae's parents especially was not necessary.
Like I could not keep track of any of that to save my life. And I felt like we spent so much time on it. Yeah. Like we could have done with like the initial flashback when all of these pieces are kind of set into place for Lee Lim, and then you know, do like some of those memory flashbacks that they do a lot in Asian dramas, and that would have sufficed. But giving like each version of the parents, that's like 4 parents. We gave like so much screen time when that could have been used for our main characters, for like the leads and Jo Young and Nari and all of those players, which like honestly like Jo Young and Nari and like the other version of Nari in the Kingdom of Korea just like dropped off in the last.
They only gave us a phone call. There was no secondary ship bait.
And we got like a blurry screenshot
of them touching hands.
It was like,
hands are a language.
That made me sad. I actually think that the drama would have done better if it would have given Prime Minister Ko, a love interest.
Yeah.
I think that it would have been more interesting because like most of the secondary lead stuff is like non-reciprocated, right? Like it doesn't really work out. It would have been way more interesting to see Ko lose a love interest, like, you know, have that choice and like decide to take the, you know, the evil route and that sort of thing. Like I would have been more comfortable with that maybe because I know that that's more indicative of Korean dramas. I don't know, or just Asian dramas in general. But she didn't get any of that, and it just kind of felt like a waste because she didn't get much.
There was a lot of really legitimate criticism at the beginning and towards the end now of the fact that she was a one-dimensional other woman character, which is a very indicative thing, not indicative, but a very common thing within Asian dramas, period. Any certain one where it's just like your character basis is basically being jealous of another woman, and you know, she's much more well-rounded, and we got a lot of time with her in the beginning, which I really enjoyed. But I really hoped that her storyline would go somewhere where that Machiavellian personality would come out and she would be able to accomplish something. Instead, she's just choked out in a tunnel and then cries about her mom, and then everything, and then goes, you know,
I think
everything's reset.
Cooler if she had managed to kill Lee Lim and then become the ultimate bad guy.
That was what I was expecting.
I thought that too, because she was going to the other world and she was doing things so well, like she was keeping things a secret, like, and people didn't find her as much of a threat. Like,
would have been cool.
Missed opportunities with that one. But again, like the funny thing is, like, she's not the main character. She wasn't like the main focus. And that's the way that these dramas tend to go, is like, do the main characters, is there payoff there? And if there is, like, that's actually like a really good thing considering like how these dramas are made and like, you know, what the point is for them and stuff. So
I feel like with K-dramas, it's like, do I buy into the lead characters? Yes. And then how much do I like the side characters? In different dramas, it's more or less for the group of side characters, depending on like what their storylines are, if I think they're working or not. And I don't know. I still feel like the time management in this show is kind of all over the place. And so while I like love the main characters, it was harder for me to connect to all the side characters because they were all pretty disconnected too throughout the story. I don't know. It was just,
there's so much going on.
Yeah, there's so much going on. It's so messy, honestly.
Yeah.
Beyond even just not remembering names, I think just any specific show that introduces you to like 30 plus characters within the time period and expects you to care, gonna have a hard time. So
Lee Lim is captured, and then there's a decision to have him go, or Lee Gong to go back in the past and finally kill Lee Lim because he cannot heal the flute on his own. I think that's the logic. He needs to go back and prevent the flute from being separated. I was hoping for a magical like reunion. He tried. He's like, boop, boop, boop.
Get some super glue on that.
Boop. Nope, not happening. So he's got to go back, kill Lee Lim in the past, fix everything, risk dying himself. So this is the classic, like, I'm going to sacrifice myself to heal the universe thing. And the universe is like, no. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what happens.
I was actually really concerned here. I was like, when he said he was going to sacrifice himself, I was like, no, we can't do this. We cannot do this. This is not what we're doing. But what's really funny is that Lee Gon actually kind of kicked and screamed his whole way through that whole sacrifice. You know,
Yeah.
like he really did. He was like, I gotta get back to my woman. There's no self-sacrificing going on here.
I just could not keep track of where everyone was moving and like where the flute was either, because you know they said their goodbyes to everyone in like the Republic of Korea, which I thought those scenes were really great. Of course, like Jo Young and Yoon Sop, I was like, yes, 10 for 10 here for this.
Oh my god, it was so
It
good.
was so good. It was so good.
Double the beauty.
And it was like and I remember them saying something along the lines of like, you know, once we go through, like no one is coming back through until like we get this sorted or whatever. But then they brought Shin-jae over to the Kingdom of Korea, but then he went back again, and I guess he took the flute with him at that point. And then Jo Young was like, I'm going with you, Lee Gon. Does anyone know what's going on?
No. Yeah, there was something weird going on. I didn't even know if Shin-jae actually had it because they didn't show him giving it to Tae-oh.
She was
But
like, give it to me. And I know you have it, but then she had it, so
she had it.
And she didn't need to show it.
They didn't need to show it, no. Everybody just magically appears in a scene. I did enjoy the going back as like that whole scene, how we talked about how it was a really expensive set scene and how he showed, you know,
it was
Jo
cool.
Young shows up on the black horse. He's like, you're not going alone. Take me.
And
the
black horse. So
bros for life.
It's good.
I thought he was gonna die. But
yeah. And then when it did look like he was shot, like in the
he had like
stand,
9 bullet holes.
I was like,
in his back.
Yeah. Is Lee Gon just gonna leave him there? Does he care?
He did just leave him there.
He just
and then he
nodded and went, and I was like, whoa. That is Jo Young. That is Unbreakable Sword.
And then there was a voiceover.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this, I totally agree with you, Nat. Like they rewrote this to say, okay, he actually gets to live now, and then they did a different scene.
Imagine if that was his ending, if we just left him there.
It just didn't. It didn't have like the narrative catharsis that you would want it to, as a tragic death of a friend. You know, like it didn't have. It had the lead up in terms of like saying goodbye and all that kind of stuff, but it didn't have like in the moment the way that they edited it. It was very obvious that they.
Yeah, we're in episode 16 now. I should.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah. We've drifted. It's fine. It's just like this show.
Yeah, 15 was like 15 just should have not happened at all.
Yeah, I ended it. I was like, I have no idea how this is gonna end. Do I care right now? I don't.
15 was
know.
bad. Like that was like kind of like one of those things where I was like, I'm ready to go into this finale, and I have zero expectations. And actually, I ended up in 16 having like a really good time because I didn't have any expectations, and I also thought it was really. I loved the traveling through dimensions and time, and the fact that like even though we didn't get like a royal wedding or any conflict around them resolving that different worlds thing that we talked about, there is no conflict in this story, by the way. It's a conflict-free narrative between the lead couple. There is no reason for them to have any problems outside of the external influences. There is no interrelationship, anything keeping them apart,
which normally I can't handle watching. So
I can't handle it either, but it's fine because
it was fine because the show itself was so complicated.
We had conflict everywhere else. It was kind of just nice to have something to hang your hat on. At the end of the
so
exactly.
In the end, he manages to like get things fixed. It fixes all the realities. Everything is sealed back up. Now there's like millions of dimensions that he has access to potentially. And then he starts to try to find her, and we go through all of those things. This ending, when they finally end up meeting up, reminds me, like, meta-wise, of Crash Landing Into You. Because they find a way to bridge and exist somewhere in a middle ground. Do you know what I'm saying, Caitlin?
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, but like...
I believe you.
No, it's good. It's just... You know, it just reminds me of like, instead of saying, hey, now she's the queen of the Kingdom of Korea, or he's decided to give up the throne and live in this other world, they decide they can't do either, and so they exist in this middle place.
Well, this is where I was super confused, because I had thought that when he went back to the second time to 1994, that his younger self had lived, and so that like that younger self then became the king. And I never was able to keep track of if his dad had actually died in this version of 1994 either. So I thought that when this Ligon finally met up with Taeul, I was like, oh, he's just going to stay there because like the Kingdom of Korea is taken care of, because there's still a version of him in the Kingdom of Korea. But that was not true. So yeah, it did kind of remind me of Crash Landing, where like no spoilers for you, Ty, but just like in that show, you're thinking like, what does happy ending look like for these characters? Yeah. And I guess like that conflict is more, I don't know, for me, the Crash Landing on You conflict felt more real, oddly, because it is like real life, and it felt like it had more stakes as opposed to this one, even though I was pretty certain like we were going to get happy endings in some version for both shows. Like the Crash Landing one, I think is done better.
I agree. Yeah. But it's just very, like, from a meta perspective, very similar. And it struck me as just like, oh, is that the new trend in Korean dramas from this? What's the company that produced both of them? Dragon. Dragon.
Yeah,
is like Dragon
that something.
Yeah. Like, is that
the logo?
Is that the new trend of what they want to say? Is that like find this like middle ground between stuff, and even
it's
if
also like
dating
forever.
It's like, weird. Like,
because we don't really get married
traveling
early now. Like the onus on a lot of Chinese and Korean dramas has always been, oh yeah, we're gonna immediately get married in order to have sex or whatever. And it's sort of like, no, we are modern people and we have modern dating relationships, so maybe we should just play with that concept instead,
Yeah, it's but then very it was like, revolutionary.
He never has an heir, and so therefore like his line ends in the Kingdom of Korea when he
and the monarchy, for Christ's sake. It's
it's fine. And the monarchy. He like, although that timeline doesn't exist, he literally had like armed police guards on the street, like a dictatorship. Like we could just say like he made mistakes in his tyrant type.
I want to see the tyrant version so bad.
Oh, that tyrant version.
Yeah.
I mean, he had it in him. Brilliant. We saw it.
We did. He turned it off real fast. It was just like a couple episodes and then it was gone. But
what if the beheading wasn't a joke?
No, the heading wasn't.
He wasn't actually beheaded though.
No, exactly. Matt brought this up, but like there was no actual beheading. It was just that's not a beheading. Or maybe
no, but he did have I don't know if you talked about this last time, but like he had blood on the left side of his face. Like for every single time he showed up, he had blood on him or paint on him, or he had the lightning thing. And the way that he like went and slashed him, I think they were trying to like it was supposed to be like a foreshadowing.
Oh, yes. I missed that.
I like that.
Same, but I like that.
It's cool. No, it's cool. And we did get that like in episode 15. I didn't bring this up, but we did get the flashback to the first episode where Lee Lim was captured by the police in like our quote unquote version of the Republic of Korea when he's covered in blood. Like
what happened there though?
like
it was a dropped whatever. I don't even know
also
what to call
think
them.
That was another thing, was that when the first time we see Lee Lim whatever, he's got the blood on his face, so in every scene he has blood on his face, so they're trying to say, oh, it's now, no, oh no, it's now, oh no, it's now. Like they're like they're playing with what you've seen. Yeah, with your expectation. Again, it's stuff that was written down to make sense. It was stuff that she wrote down to have a payoff, but then it wasn't like executed.
As translated by the directors, may have leaned too hard into the concept of weekly format, like excitement and you know how we talked about this multiple times throughout our streams, but the idea that you have to have a shock value to TV, whether it's week to week, episode to episode, with your previews or with just in general, you sort of lose coherency as a story because you're only focusing on those moments of excitement, and then everything after that kind of just simmers down. And I think that's probably one of the things that was to the detriment of the show, is that they really tried to push that, pushing the boundaries. We've got a new thing that happens and we got a new thing to deal with. And then at some point you just get overloaded and you stop caring. And if you stop caring, which is great, I mean, we're all in that mode right now, it's fine because you can just enjoy the ride, but you can't ever get fully vested into a story where you would want to watch it again, or you'd want to talk about it all the time. You know, like in order to do something cohesive, especially with a time travel or an alternate dimension reality, is you have to have a singular thread throughout that makes it important and has transformation for the characters. That's my take on it. You can probably disagree with that. That's fine. I just feel like simplifying is much more important, especially when it comes to this sort of more emotional, organic storytelling of dramas.
I think that's where Goblin succeeds, is that like it underdoes the things to keep the thread of them being goblin and goblin wife.
It's a simple
together.
Story.
Oh yeah.
It's the sword. It's the sword.
Yeah,
it's
the sword. Yeah,
that's the touchstone.
Totally different, you know, directors and everything. But the interesting thing that Nat was talking about is that, like, so a lot of the format of Korean dramas and the way that it is to reach out to the international, you know, fans, like they're trying to do right now, not reach out, but they're trying to expand the audience more. Yeah. And this drama is like 100% like that.
An experiment in it, really, actually.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because we're doing it right now, you know, covering for the latest 4 episodes that have streamed right after the last one just streamed, you know, and we're doing this, we're covering it. Every single like forum people, even like DK News, who's like a K-pop news group, is covering this drama, you know, and this is the kind of format that they choose to do it in. It's right after that last episode airs, and then they're going to talk about it. So that idea of having like something big in every single episode is like so important, because everyone that's watching dramas, they want to eat up that content. They want to be a part of the conversation like right after they watch that latest episode. I mean, I remember when watching Meteor Garden, when Meteor Garden was on, I was watching scenes that were not even translated yet, that had just aired like a few minutes before on like Twitter. And I was like being spoiled, like having no idea what was going on. Like, oh my God, like crying, watching this darn scene. I had no idea what's being said, because I was like, I just wanted to know what was going to happen next.
We call it like the water cooler moment, right? Like the thing that you actually take from the episode that's going to be important. And it happens too, like Chinese dramas are on a really weird release schedule, because if you have advanced subscription, then you can get episodes in advance. And like I'm right now, like I just Google translated like the last few episodes of The Romance of Tiger and Rose, because I was getting spoiled for it from my timeline, because I have Mandarin speakers in my group of friends. And it's like, so you're in a weird cathartic space where it's like, oh, not cathartic, but weird liminal space is the word I was looking for.
Where you can get that catharsis of what happened.
But without any kind of subtitles or any kind of understanding of what's going on. So I agree. Yeah.
Did this one air on like regular TV in Korea and Netflix? Okay. And was it airing kind of roughly the same time? Because I didn't see that there was a ton of spoilers.
I think they were trying to do
they were pretty aligned. Whereas like especially C dramas, like they can be weeks in advance, and like literally the whole plot is available before it shows up on our streaming services.
And I hate to say this, but like in terms of following a bunch of K-drama accounts, it's like, they were covering it, but even with the water cooler moments that we had, I don't think that there was a propelled interest from a lot of people. They were like more like, okay, let's wait until it's all done and out, and then we'll binge watch it, because then it'll make more sense. Because if you lose somebody within the first few episodes, they'll just wait until the series is over to hear the reviews of it in order to actually get on board. I mean, there's very few dramas that I'll jump onto if they're airing. But when they when you do, you know, you're like, you have a heavy expectation.
Yeah. Like I did it with Meteor Garden, with Romance of Simona's book, and with this one. Those are the 3 that I've chosen to kind of come along with for the ride. And yeah, it's a lot of like mental, like, okay, I'm invested now because I'm committing time out of my rather than like when I want to schedule my drama watching.
It's a totally different experience. I did this. So I was watching Suspicious Partner, which is, pretty popular K-drama. And I watched it like a year after it came out. And I remember posting about like, not really big on it. Like I dropped it like halfway through. I was like, I'm not a big fan. And people were like, oh my God, how are you not a fan? Like that, like, and then eventually I got down to the point of it, which was that when it was coming out, everyone was watching it. Like, and they were all like online and talking about it, and just they had this huge uproar about what was going to happen next week, and I was like, that's a totally different experience than just like watching it on your own.
Yeah. And I think having a community that is watching these things more too, like I think like, in like Star Wars Twitter, which is where like we're all kind of based, I feel like so many more people in our circle are now watching Asian dramas too.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, there are more people like talking about this now. It's not just me. Like the first drama that I watched when it was airing was Memories of the Alhambra. And I was like so desperate to talk to people about it because I was not having a great experience with it, but I watched every episode as it was airing because I was invested. I don't know why, but and then
that's great.
And then Crash Landing on You, I watched while it was airing, and then this one. And all three of those have been very different experiences. Like Memories of the Alhambra was like pretty much on my own. And then Crash Landing on You, a bunch of us were obviously watching while it was airing. And then this one is like the next step of like, well, I'm talking about it now, like on a live stream, like there is just something to be said about like that joint experience, whether you come out of it like viewing it positively or negatively. And that's what they want. And that's what they're getting is people talking about it.
Yeah. And I agree. Like, I think it's important to actually do this with this content because there's plenty of other shows where people are doing podcasts. And like, I, as somebody that was like a serial consumer of like the Walking Dead podcasts or the Westworld podcast or like anything that was related to media where you were trying to kind of keep up both and both in the past, but also anticipate what was coming based on production or whatever. And it can be tiring, overwhelming, but I think we should, having a community of people that are centering that attention on what is essentially fem-gaze and fem-produced products is pretty important to me. So I'm really grateful for all of you to like be part of this journey.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to cover. I would say in the end, and maybe we'll get into that with our overviews and our overall, like, how did we feel overall, which I already saw your review, Caitlin, online.
Oh, I just had to do it. I finished it. I was like, I gotta do this.
Fair. Awesome. No, but do you want to go first on like how you felt about the show kind of overall and like where you're at?
Yeah. So, like MZ said, I have like an ongoing thread of all the dramas I've watched the past 2 years, and I just give them a letter grade. And I gave this show a B minus.
B minus.
Yeah,
that would be mine.
Yeah, I gave it a B minus. Memories of the Alhambra, I gave a C plus. So this one is above Memories of the Alhambra. But I think that the confusion level of this one just kind of, it overtook me, or it became the focus for me of just how confused I was throughout the whole thing. And on certain areas, it was hard for me to suspend my disbelief about a lot of what was going on. So I don't know if I would recommend it to other people. I think that at the end of the day, one of the things I love about K-dramas and Asian dramas and K-dramas are just made so rapidly that there's just so much room for experimentation. And that's what makes it really great. And I think there's just so much opportunity to play with these stories and like these different plot holes and things like that, or plot developments. And this one, I don't think did it as successfully, but I loved all the pieces of it. I think I said in my review, like the sum was not as good as all the pieces. Like the sum of the whole did not live up to expectations, because like the set design of this show is incredible. The actors are all incredible actors. I've seen most of them in other stuff and I love them in that. The music was pretty good too. The OST I really enjoyed, but putting it all together just didn't jive for me. There are definitely like scenes I want to rewatch, and like I've listened to the soundtrack and stuff like that. And like I said, I think it's a beautiful show. But yeah, overall kind of lukewarm on it. Like I'm glad we did this and I can't wait to do the next drama, hopefully. But
the next drama for sure.
Yeah, but that's B- is kind of where I settled on it.
Yeah.
All right. Ty.
Yeah.
You can go next.
I like that rating. I think it's a good rating. If I were to give it like a letter grade, I like halfway through, I because I wasn't a part of the last couple streams, I was like, how are y'all
talking about it?
Like, but of course, when I like, you know, watched some of the previous streams and I was like, okay, I get it, y'all. There's actually plenty to talk about here, like, because of course there's so much to talk about. It's little. Because of the things that are bad, there's still stuff to talk about. But you know, I really liked the fact that I actually stuck it out and watched all of it, because for a little while there I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it. I've dropped a lot of dramas,
and you tend not to finish them too.
Yeah.
I'll be like, you haven't finished Meteor Garden, and it's been like 4 months. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh
Which
yeah,
I do say you should finish Suspicious Partners because I really like that drama.
it's like I don't think I ever dropped it technically. Like I do have my drama list. I keep updating.
On hold. Everything goes into the on hold.
Everything's on hold. I have like 10 or so dramas that are just.
Oh my gosh.
Me too. I've got probably about 15. The only thing I've ever dropped is the Korean Meteor Garden. Like,
yeah, I'm not even
Boys
going near
Over Flowers. I actually, you know what's really funny about that you mentioned that is that the other day I got so sick of looking at what's his name, Lee Min-ho.
Lee Min-ho, yeah.
Lee Min-ho. I was like, you know what? You're a really beautiful man in this drama, and everything that I watched you in has really pissed me off. And I was like, I'm gonna watch Boys Over Flowers. For some reason, I was like, I'm gonna go pick up Boys Over Flowers again. Because of him, because I was like, for some reason, like, I don't get it. The King made me appreciate his skill a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like him in The Heirs. I didn't like him in Boys Over Flowers. Haven't watched him anything else, but those are like the ones that he's like known for.
I want to watch Faith. Like, Faith is supposed to be really good, and he rides a horse in that.
There's
too,
also
so.
The Good Doctor. The Good. It's like a historical one. I think
Faith is I think that's Faith, because it's the one where she travels back into the past and she's a doctor, and then she falls.
It has a different name.
You gotta watch Legend of the Blue Sea.
Oh
That's
that one I
have to watch.
Reincarnation one, and he's like a con man in it, and he's so charming. Like,
oh my god,
that version, like him playing that kind of character, just way better. I like the King, but
one of the directors from that show was one of the directors for The King. There were 3 directors in The King, and that was.
Oh, that makes sense why everything's incoherent too. Is if you have 3 directors and 3 different editors or anything like underneath them, like you're gonna get some weirdness. Yeah.
There was some
exactly.
Choices.
There were 3 directors for The Goblin. There tends to be like multiple directors for kind of the big ones. Yeah. Usually like 2 or 3. But yeah, most of the dramas that I like tend to have like one director, one writer. They're like a duo. They work together on similar projects. Yeah.
I gotta have a vision.
And Nat, how did you feel?
To put this on my drama list rating as probably like an 8.5. I'm like the nicest reviewer on my drama list.
That's so nice.
I'm so nice because I've never put anything really under a 7. And I think a lot of it for me too is because I mostly watch Chinese dramas, and they're vastly under rated as compared to K-dramas, because I think the audience is just different and the expectations are different. But I'm like, no, you got to watch more C-dramas. They're not that bad. You need to just finish all 45 to 60 episodes. Okay. So I would put it as like an 8. And I think a lot of the fact is that like I felt super invested in this drama at the get-go, and I got to watch my interest wane, which is pretty normal. Like I've been through the slow heat death of the universe that happens in every C drama where they don't know how they're going to end it. So this is nothing new to me, and I actually have different standards for dramas than I do for any other medium, period. Because once you get invested in the tropes and the actors and everything that comes into making a C-drama or K-drama happen, you have a lot of like, you're like, okay, well, I know that kind of is stupid and it sucked, but it's like, it's endearing and it means something to me. And that's how I felt at the end of the show, especially with like, I actually cried, and I didn't expect to cry, but it emotionally moved me in a way that I thought was good. And I just liked the kind of the promise that I almost felt like they were angling for a second season, to be honest with you. And I don't think it's going to happen, but I thought it was really cute that they tried.
You're like, that's cute. It's like Artemis Fowl all over again.
Oh God.
Sorry.
I didn't watch it. I just saw scenes from it. So mostly what I would like to say is like this drama as a serial secondary character lover. Like I don't actually get into the primary characters unless it's my OTP, and we're not talking about that. But secondary characters, secondary relationships, secondary everything is my bread and butter. And it fell apart and it lacked that element. And I think, my Goblin, I don't even care what's going on with the mains. I'm just Sunny and Reaper over here, like there's a lot of people like that. Like we like the angst, we like the unrequited, we like the weirdness of that, like, and the drama, the actual drama. And
neither angst nor payoff for in the end for those. Yeah.
But so, she did a bromance with the two characters.
Yeah.
I think she thought that was her bread and butter, but it's
it has to be done right. Like there's a lot of good examples of bromance where you actually have like the main heteronormative relationship like actually work out and have conflict. I mean, I can list plenty of them. But if you're gonna do a bromance like that, like, and then also just have the resolution where he's going to die for him, but you only show him being saved you don't even show it. You just talk about it, like you're losing everything at the end, and people essentially are waiting for the end in order to feel like their investment has a reward. And there's no reward here. It's more of like a gold star or a token of like, oh, you completed this. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's a really great montage.
It's an achievement, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations, you completed the King Eternal Monarch, but nothing really mattered.
Have your Doctor Who AU.
I got that shirt. Yeah. Exactly.
I think that it's interesting, like talking about all of this and like the fact that like we all come at these shows like pretty differently, like Nat being there for the seconds, I'm always here for the leads. Yeah. And I think like for all of our favorite tropes and they're all present within this show because the show has everything. We can all name like other shows that do that thing better.
Yeah.
And so it's like no one thing kind of stood out among the rest. They were all just kind of level in the end, like with the main romance, like we were talking about, like in the beginning, it didn't really like come to any, like they were just immediately in love.
Yeah.
And we were like, what's going on here? But then in the back half, like we kind of got that more, and like that was cute and fluffy. And then like with the bromance, there was more examples of that, like kind of in the middle and beginning. And then that was kind of dropped at the end too. Like nothing really soared in this drama, I think, as far as the tropes are concerned, but they were all there.
Yeah. For my part, I enjoyed this. I was trying to think, like, am I going to give it a solid B? I will probably give it a solid 80% on my drama list. Just because, like, is that an A? I don't know. I mean, whatever it is, it's like 4 stars out of 5, I think, is the number. And it's just because at points during the drama, I did feel like, why am I watching this? Oh yeah, I'm doing the stream, and that should never be the that should never be the outcome of like, why are you trying to watch this? I did enjoy the puzzles, and there is a little bit of a letdown to do with some of the puzzles not like turning out to mean anything, even if they only meant things within the timeline that was rewritten, right?
Yeah.
I would have been okay with that. That made sense. I was right, because I get like intrinsic reward out of
oh no,
being
we do.
Right.
All of us. in this area.
All of us are on the speculation horse literally all the damn time.
Yeah.
So.
I loved how it looked. I loved the cinematography. I loved so many aspects of the acting, especially like showing the doppelganger pieces were just so good. But like it had the complexity of like, well, now there's 2 of them. And so I have to memorize like 2 names, 2 personalities. Like my learning disability was like dying this whole time. I had to make like a little like chart for myself. Yeah, like a chart so that I could like be like, oh, I gave up like trying to memorize names. Like to your point, Ty, like I struggled with this one a lot. And I'm like, why did I decide to choose this one? Like, because I'm like, I can't say people's names on a stream because my learning disability is like killing me.
Aww.
Like it was a whole like thing, but I'm happy I covered it. And because like to your point, Ty, this is a concerted effort, especially on Netflix's perspective, to try to bring this fiction to North American specific audiences and European audiences. Like they did it before with Meteor Garden, and that was vastly successful, and it was actually more successful in non-English speaking locations like South America especially. It had a huge following. Like we talked about that before, Ty. Like this is an effort to bring these different fictions out there, and I'm really happy like we decided to cover it, talk about it, and really just like invest some mental effort. And there are things like that I want to cover in the future that are not dramas like this, but I still think that it's valuable to cover dramas. They are such a different perspective than we get here.
Yeah. Well, and Netflix needs something that's going to set it apart from all these other streaming services that are out with Disney Plus. Like that completely changed the game. And so them upping money on being able to air international shows as they're airing in different countries, and with K-dramas in particular, it's a huge draw that no other streaming platform has, except for people like us that all like have Viki as well. We're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and you realize that like, in terms of the universality of all of this is that like, we're assuming that like North American audiences are the ones that we're really marketing to, but when I my international crew on Twitter is all they're all from different countries that are located in Asia but around like Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. Being able to have a commonality of experience, even if it's not on Netflix, is super important. Like we need to just like dramas in it are kind of an international movement to me, because they don't expect the audience to be specifically centered towards like Western or American or European thought. Like they're made for their own countries and cultures, but they are, because of the way that they are formatted and the way that they focus on relationships and characters, they are extremely accessible. And Netflix being able to tap into that has been great, because like my grandma got into dramas, my mom, my sister, every woman that I have known that I've been like, okay, I know you don't like this one that we're watching right now, but you'll like this one, has been like, okay, no, this is what I want. And it was sort of like, it's sort of like watching the anime and manga boom of the 90s happen again, but in a way.
Yeah, so, I've thought about that.
Yeah. Like we're coming into this, because people are so desperate for content that speaks to them, because I've watched you guys follow like Western shows and be disappointed. And, we've all been through that before, or major film franchises that, So, being able to have something that won't let you down, that will make you happy.
So there's something odd about the distribution about this that I wanted to add, which was I mentioned the DKDK TV, which is a popular news channel popular YouTube channel that does K-pop news. They covered The King for a while. I don't know if they're still covering it, but at some point after their second episode, after they did the exact same thing we did, by the way, which I had no idea they were doing, 4 episodes at a time. And they, after the second one, they posted on Twitter, like, should we change to The World of the Married, because The World of the Married is more popular. And all of the international fans were like, no, because we have no way of watching The World of the Married because it's not on a streaming service.
That's very good to know.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And I think that they continued just doing The King, either that or they dropped it all together because like the only reason why people watch DK is because they're two Korean guys that speak English, and they can explain a lot of like the cultural context of some of these pop culture issues, you know? So I mean, it's something to keep in mind, like kind of what we're going through right now. There's also like the kind of stuff with BTS not providing English translations for all of the stuff they've released recently for their their celebration of 7 years and stuff. It's like a really big deal, and they didn't provide any English translations. So all of the major translators had to get together and figure out kind of a contingency plan because they weren't expecting to have to translate so much for free. It's very odd. It's like, it's like most of the fans are now international fans.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because of the fact that like I think that there's a lot of reticence to have like when I go looking for C-drama content, especially on YouTube, like there is like maybe 2 people that I can follow like that will explain it from a cultural standpoint. And I think a lot of it is like you have to understand that we projected a lot of really horrible like opinions and dismissal of these genres in general, like and especially coming from our perspective, we don't want to like try and speak over or colonialize traumas, but we're just sitting here saying we love this medium, we appreciate it, and there is not enough going around saying that this is important, like we're just going to try to add our few cents into there and just say, we need more of this, like it needs to be a movement, because if you can take any lessons from any of the Asian dramas that we've watched, it's that the power of women writing stories for women, like that's it. That's you can just nail that to my coffin when I die, is like why did I spend the last year of my life watching 300 hours of television in languages I don't even speak? It's because it was made for me, even if I don't speak the language. So
it's even down to respecting the woman as an audience, as a consumer, as someone who spends a lot of money on this stuff, as someone who dedicates time and emotion to this stuff, like that's incredibly powerful. Like you see it with like the K-pop groups, even though they're guys creating music, they're still creating it usually
for that audience,
right? For that audience, and then you have the women writers in K-dramas and dramas in general tend to be more like prevalent, just because the consumer is a woman, and that consumer is respected a little bit differently than in the US, than in the West. So I don't know. I'm hoping we're seeing like a
renaissance.
I would like to think that, but I don't know. I'm not usually one to, I don't know, figure out this kind of stuff.
It's just an acknowledgement that like women are huge consumers of this kind of media, and it's never talked down to. We have like shows we like more, shows that are done better, shows that have ridiculous product placement, but they're never the genre is never talked down to. You never like I remember talking to my mom about K-dramas for the first time, and she hasn't watched any yet, but she's like a huge consumer of like Hallmark movies and stuff like that, and that is repetitively talked down to here, of just like, oh, like you see so many parodies of Hallmark movies and like the tropes that are present in those and all of that, and it's made to seem as less than and like not good media, whereas here like they're the same, like they're catered to women, but there's such a different perspective on them. And like I think that like K-dramas and Asian dramas get to do a lot more fun stuff, I think, than like the comparison here of Hallmark movies, which
Hallmark movies are great. It's a genre, remember? It's a genre.
Yeah, but it's incredibly talked down to, and that's never the case with K-dramas and other Asian dramas. It's like, no, this is the norm. This is what people are watching, this is what people are consuming, and you don't feel bad. Like women are never made to feel bad about watching it, or that it's guilty pleasures.
Exactly, and it's consumed by everyone.
Yeah.
They're targeting a primarily women audience because they know that's where their bread is. But men watch these too and can watch these because, like as they are feminists in nature, you are not, expositing ideas of toxic masculinity. So women and men can appreciate them at the same time because of the fact that it really is egalitarian as the way that it's trying to create things.
And they're not all just like rom-coms. Like
no.
there's just like I don't mean that, but
well, I mean this show was not like a romantic comedy. Like it was
it was a very
trying to be so
it was
more.
a very it was like a who said it at the beginning, it was a thought experiment, like in drama form, like it was like what if we did this, and it was like and you know what, in so many ways I even though in some ways it just didn't end up being successful, it still had a story and it told it. It had just some problems. I mean, it succeeded in trying, which I don't think that like North American, like I don't think there's any North American storytellers that would try to be like, we're gonna do this insane thing and it's gonna be awesome, and we're like, okay.
No, because there's that expectation of, well, how many seasons is it going to go for?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas in Korea, that's not the case.
Where's the audience that already exists? Well, with K-dramas and with Asian dramas in general, it's like it's like if you show it, they will come, and they might complain about it a little bit, but there you go.
Yeah.
There is a hype machine, but it's usually a little bit different just because who knows when these things are going to air kind of situation.
Yeah. There's just, I don't know. There's just the fact that there's so much more flexibility and so much more creativity, I think, within K-dramas and Asian dramas of just what they're willing to tackle, what weird tropes they're going to go for and like manipulate into like a new version of a trope. I mean, it's just, it's good. And like the fact that like with K-dramas, they are so short. It's like, okay, this didn't work. That's okay. It's done now. And we don't have to.
Not a 70 episode experiment in pain like a
yeah.
And then they're like, sorry, ran out of budget.
No, it's but what's great you mentioned that is the fact that most of these are adaptations. I mean, Korean dramas are pushing the boundaries by having these kind of written as they're written kind of situation, but a lot of Asian dramas are adaptations of existing stories, and adaptations of existing stories, as me and Claire have talked about before.
And Meteor Garden being like a combination of all of the different versions of Boys Over Flowers, the anime, the
and
manga,
going back to the manga,
and going back to the manga, like, but all of the different visual versions of it too. It kind of took all of the versions and then made like a prime version, which is kind of cool. In so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, Meteor Garden was the first Asian drama that I watched. And so just being thrown into that of like the intensity of how tropes are portrayed in that story, which is like, you don't see anything like that in Western media. I was like, so what am I watching? And then, you start watching fan videos and stuff on YouTube, and it's like, oh, here are all the comparison scenes between Meteor Garden and Boys Over Flowers. And I'm like, wait, what? And it's just like this whole world that is just like very invested in storytelling and is okay telling the same story twice because it's a good story. I think that like there's just like the balance there of like, let's try something really kooky and like let's do a new version of something that we all already love. It's just it's good.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat brought up that at the scene when they're watching the security footage, where they say it's a thriller, it's a romance, it's a melodrama.
Yeah, and there's like
whatever.
Let's just kiss.
Yeah.
It's like it was a very meta commentary.
It was.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, throughout the show. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was redone like after the fact to be like, because they were looking at Jo Young surviving and like that touching moment is like, God, this one's for the shippers. Boop. Like,
hey, it could have been. It's
a melodrama. Everybody can.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up that Woo Do Hwan.
Woo Do Hwan?
I can't pronounce names, sorry.
It's okay.
KP in the chat actually pointed this out on the Discord for What the Force. I have like a little sub channel because I like to talk about other stuff. That he's been cast and it was announced on the 10th. He will be the main star in the drama Hero. And I want to read it. I want to read the
there's a
the description of what it's going to be, because it is bananas and I'm excited. So
wait, is it a webcomic?
No, it's going to be a show.
Didn't. Okay.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
I added that. I thought it might be, but
no. It's a drama, and it's gonna premiere on OCN.
It was like based on a webcomic, but
so the article
was
from
read the description.
Okay, so sorry. So he's offered the role of Ogute, a former prosecutor who is jobless. He was an amateur boxer athlete until high school. But after his older brother mysterious suicide, he gave up pursuing his career in sports, and he studied ardently, graduated top of the Judicial Research and Training Institute, becoming a promising prosecutor of the investigation department. However, during a trial for a troublemaking chaebol, I can't pronounce that. Yeah. I know what it is, but what is that?
A rich
kid.
Rich kid. Assault case. He was unable to hold in his anger and ends up bringing down a law book on the chaebol's head. He was forced to retire from his position, and his license as a lawyer is suspended for 10 years. He ends up ending his career in this legal profession. In the present, he makes zero income and is working part-time at a friend's tuning shop.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
Wait. But they just gave you the whole flashback, and then the present is what the show actually is.
Yeah.
This sounds like Itaewon Class, but a little bit different.
It's like Itaewon Class, Suspicious Partner, and Fight My Way.
But
yes,
it's a Park Seo-joon drama.
Yeah,
no.
It's a Park Seo-joon mashup.
The idea behind Hero originates in the thought that a huge invisible force is working behind the unjust ways of the modern world, where those who perform good deeds are treated like criminals. The drama tells the story of ordinary people who go against the enormous evil power that is throwing society into disorder
by being
in their attempt to reach their objectives.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this probably is a webcomic somewhere.
This felt very practical, but now we've got the mystical element to it.
Deus Ex Machina of the world is.
Yeah. You're just trying to sell us on a new drama to follow. It's a lot.
Okay. Who's the writer of this? Oh, I gotta figure this out.
I'll be right back.
Give me a name.
Sorry, give me the name.
Give me a name.
I
is it in the article?
Screenwriter is Park Hee Kang.
Park Hee
Kang.
Kang.
Park 2 E's for Hey.
Park E Kang. Got it. Park Hee Kang.
That's all I know. I'm excited.
All right. I'm excited, and I mean, there's not enough, obviously there's not enough information, but I'm like, what else did this person write? Because I need to know why this is a mashup of all these Park Seo-joon dramas, and then Suspicious Partner. What is going on?
Bizarro weird. It's let's take all of it, and again to that experimental thing. Maybe they were trying to be Park Seo-joon is super super, popular. Let's mash up all of his stuff into a blender and make it something.
He wrote. He did the only drama series he's ever done was Possessed.
What's that?
You haven't watched it?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, so
is that the Cruel Intentions one?
No.
There's a Cruel Intentions one?
There's a Possessed is basically about so Nat, this is the only other drama that this person has written, who's writing this one that Claire just talked about. He's written Possessed, which is on Netflix. It is a crime drama ghost thing where this girl can see ghosts. She is helping a detective figure out what happened to these people who got killed. But there's a serial killer who's actually being possessed by or this guy that's being possessed by the serial killer. Yeah, who had died years prior. And they find out that he has the same MO and stuff like that. It's really, really, really good Korean drama that's out of the realm of typical
I like that stuff. There's a lot
things.
of ghost seeing in Korean.
A lot of ghost
love
stuff.
it. I love the ghost ones. Ghost and reincarnation dramas are some of my faves.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a movie that he was in too called The Divine Fury.
I feel like I've heard of that one, but I don't know what it's about.
Anyway,
I'm very excited for that.
I'm excited for it too. I would love to try.
I don't know what any of the other mains are doing, but this was just announced, and KP actually who pointed out this article was like, it's Google Deepthink because it just popped up on the top of their feed, and it's like, maybe I've been watching too much dramas or something, or
never watched too many dramas.
No,
never.
Exactly. So I did want to, like, now that we've kind of vented and aired and talked about all this stuff, I actually wanted to talk about what you're consuming next and what is on your radar next, other than this, which looks like it's probably a year or so away. Hero. So Nat, what are you consuming /
I'm
will be consuming
first.
I always get to go last.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I of course have gotten Caitlin into what we call Trotar, which is the romance of Tiger and Rose, and
I started that.
I love it, and I will never stop loving it. It gets a little rough at the end, but I think it's worth it. Yeah, I'll do a comprehensive review once it's finished, because it actually will finish for VIP watchers, which I have a VIP subscription still next week. And then I'll be able to kind of do a retrospective on it. But it has been one of my favorite Chinese dramas I've watched in recent history.
Wow.
I am looking forward to very few things, unfortunately. The one I am looking forward to is I will probably be really focused on a drama called Miss S, which is a remake of the Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, which is an Australian murder mystery television show that they remade in China with my favorite Gao Wei Guang as the main lead detective hot guy. So yeah, but Korean dramas, I'm definitely, yeah. There's way too much in my docket. You just follow my Twitter, you'll figure it out. So.
And Caitlin, what are you consuming?
Well, I'm living off of Nat's recommendations right now. I'm watching Romance of the Tiger and Rose, and then I started Someday One Day, but I needed to take a break from that one because it was a little heavy. And
it's heavy.
It was heavy, and I started it like 3 weeks ago, and of course, like everything that's been going on, I was like, I can't do that right now, but it's really good, and I'm liking it a lot so far. Romance of the Tiger and Rose is so much fun. The lead actress, I don't know her name.
Song Lucy.
Yeah, she is in the the drama I Hear You, which was one of my favorites. It was in my top 5 favorites of last year. I love that drama. That one is such like a good present day, just like sweet drama. And so I'm really enjoying, I was really excited that she was in this one, so I'm really enjoying that one. And for dramas I'm looking forward to, I don't keep up with the new dramas that are releasing as much, but I do know that Love Alarm season 2 will be coming out soon, which
season 2?
Yeah, I think it comes out in August.
That one's based on a webcomic, I think.
Yeah, that one was good. It was, I really liked it. It hasn't been one of my all-time faves, but I'm looking forward to season 2, especially because they don't usually do season 2s. So I think that one's out later this year, but I'm excited. I'm gonna be turning on Romance of Tiger and Rose after this, and I didn't realize that it would be another week before there would be English subs up.
What episode are you on?
I'm on 10 or 11, I think.
You're fine. It's 24 episodes, so you're not even halfway through.
Okay.
But get to talk to me in private once you hit closer. And also, I don't mean to interrupt here, but I do think that if you felt unfulfilled by The King Eternal Monarch as a time travel loop narrative, please, for the love of God, watch the Taiwanese drama Someday or One Day. It is a perfectly coherent, amazing time travel story, and it will knock your socks off. It will also hurt you on a deep spiritual level, but it will be good.
Yeah, I'm only on episode 3 and it's hurting. So yeah. I will also say, in like the reincarnation vein, if you're interested in that, Chicago Typewriter is a great reincarnation K-drama. Also has an excellent bromance if you really want a good bromance. And then Legend of the Blue Sea is a great reincarnation drama too, with an amazing OST, and Lee Min-ho is the lead and he does a great job in it. So those are my recs.
Ty?
Yeah, so I've added a lot to my list lately. I tend to like a lot of escapism type dramas. I still watch a lot of American television. Like I still watch a lot of like, you know, trending TV shows on like Netflix and Hulu and stuff. Because I try to stay up with things in pop culture, but I like tend like, so when I go to dramas, I tend to want, like, my favorite Taiwanese drama is Devil Beside You, which is like one of those really bad, like it's got one of the most bizarre subplots in all of drama history. Like it's kind of known for having one of the most bizarre subplots ever. What is it? It's there's a Christmas tree decoration competition. That a bunch of young boys.
That's a Hallmark movie.
That's a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. It's a bunch of guys have to participate too. So it's like absolutely absurd. And they're all like rebels and they all like do a bunch of stuff. But it's a big deal because this guy wants to be a designer, right? So he has to decorate this Christmas tree in a correct way. It's so bizarre. And I love I love it so much because I love that kind of stuff. I love that older, like, you know, early 2000s, late 90s.
So really,
it's a look. It's a look.
Yeah, it's a look. It's very over the top, and it's like something I go, wow, when I was the age I was around this time, I could have had this, and I wish I could have had it. And I think that's kind of like where I'm at, you know, with like kind of the emotionality of it. It's just like that's the escapism for me, is just like the emotional like growing up with that would have been much nicer, I think.
Yeah, we missed out. Like looking back on early 2000s stuff, whether it's like the Taiwanese Meteor Garden that's like the most loved of all of them, or all of like the Japanese dramas that came out at that time. Like we definitely like kind of like, if we would have had more accessibility to this stuff, we would have been watching it and we would have loved it, you know?
Yeah, as opposed to being in that kind of pop culture era where people were saying that love stories were bad. Like that's kind of, you know, that's where it comes from, I think. But anyways, so I'm gonna try to watch like someday, one day, because I didn't realize they were making kind of high quality Taiwanese dramas still. I thought that was kind of going out the door, but it's nice to hear that that's still happening. And Legend of Blue Sea is now on my list. And just generally, like, I'm still trying to consume like all of the Hano Dango.
Working your way through them.
Working my way through them. Still watching those. I'm excited to eventually consume the comic after all of this is done, the manga. After I watch everything.
So much like Meteor Garden. No, it's interesting. I've read it twice. It's interesting how much the
manga is good.
Yeah, the manga is great. Yeah. So Hana Yori Dango is translated roughly to Boys Over Flower Candy, because like, but then it's like, Meteor Garden was the original Taiwanese version. And then they redid it in China. There's so many. The Meteor Garden, Boys Over Flowers, Hana Yori Dango are all the same story, just done in different versions.
And it's great too. When I was talking to my, you know, friends that are like from the Philippines or from other countries, it's like, this is actually kind of like cultural mythology for us now, even though it's like a shared fairy tale that everybody appreciates and loves. And they, like, no matter how many versions you make of it, it's still entertaining because you love to see the differences. Yes. And now that I'm getting into J-dramas, which has been a long time coming, because I study Japanese. This is a language that I'm pretty familiar with. I'm actually starting to like really love the fact that they lean hard into source material, manga, like everything is comedic and over the top and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Coffee and Vanilla is
I've been watching it. It's a thing.
It's a great adaptation of the manga.
I've only watched 2 J dramas, and they were Isekai Kiss and Good Morning Call, which are kind of.
I've watched both of those. Those are amazing.
They're very similar, but like J dramas are so different. Like those are both based on mangas too, right? And they were just so over the top in everything, like even more so than C dramas and K dramas. And I remember being like, oh, okay, like,
oh yeah,
should we take a chill pill here? And then I was like, no, let's keep going.
Oh yeah, I watched Switched, which is a body swap drama, which was amazing, and I watched Erased, which was adapted from a manga about. It was like the guy goes into the past basically, so it's another type of time travel one. Amazing, like tight, like all the J dramas, like very tight, very you know, like you said, like source material heavy, like they honor the source material as much as they can. Just a totally different experience from C dramas and K dramas.
Kakufaka?
Kaka Fukaka, yeah.
I love that show so much.
My jaw was on the floor the first 2 episodes. I screenshotted, and I didn't post any of it, but I was just like,
everyone needs to watch this drama. Like,
I don't want anybody to know what they're getting into.
No, it's
no.
Just watch it.
I watched it because I saw Ty tweet about it. And
episode 8, I cried, like, and I
was dying.
Like
I was dying.
I watched it all in one night. I don't even think I ate dinner. I was just like
Oh yeah, if you haven't watched J dramas yet, they're super accessible because they're usually only like 10 episodes long and they're less than an hour. So it's like really quick, gonna get it. I watch them when I'm falling asleep because I know the language enough that if I start to sort of drift off, it's okay. But like I can
amazing.
Watch. Yeah, it's great. Like
that drama, everyone needs to watch it.
Yeah.
Please watch it and tell me what your thoughts on it are.
At me on Twitter.
At Caitlin Plusher, at all of us, please.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
I'm so happy we've all watched it now. That's awesome.
Me too.
For me, I'm actually about 3/4 of the way through Rookie Historian, which if you have not seen it, it is available on Netflix. I think it's actually really poignant to our times. It does a really good job of covering things like the historians are much like the press in our modern day, and it's like freedom of the press and accessibility to our leaders and how they talk about things. There's a plague,
responsibility too.
There's a smallpox plague that is covered in there, and they like deal with anti-vaxxers and like how to deal with a plague versus not. And so like especially with what is happening nowadays, everybody wears masks because it's a plague, like you know, like it's just really, really interesting. And there's a lot of like power dynamics and dealing with inequality and access to things. I'm really, really enjoying it. I don't know how it's going to end yet. I have a fear it's going to be like one of those middle things or everybody's going to die, but that's just because I've been hurt so many times.
No, it's actually, I heard it's pretty soft. I mean,
it's a soft ending.
Good. Also recommend Crash Landing Into You, which does the conversation about Worlds Apart better than The King. And after that, I don't know what I'm going to do other than Someday One Day, which I've promised Nat for like months to watch. And then I don't know. I'm looking for something else to cover on the show. So when that all happens, I will definitely let everybody know and tweet it out and let people know what we're going to be covering.
Yeah. I think we've missed our window for talking about Eternal Love of Dream, but I know that I'm going to have you on my stream to talk about it. Talk about an experience of watching something while it was airing and having like the pure joy of like being surrounded by content. Like I'll never go back there again. That was the high point of 2020. It's
That's
over.
it. Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. You actually had a very different early 2020 than other people.
Most people.
Yeah.
That's good. I can't wait to hear that one. That's going to be awesome to hear everything that, very cool.
Well, thank you all of you for coming out for this episode and the last 3 to cover everything that we've wanted to talk about with the king. Do you have any final sign-off words for the amazing people that have come along on this crazy journey with us?
Oh, can I say something to Matt? I know,
Yeah.
I don't know if Matt's still around, but like, I thought it was absolutely precious that this was his first K-drama, and he was so forgiving of so many things. He was like, I just thought maybe that was a K-drama thing.
It kind of is, but it's not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
There's
but
better
he
ones.
ended up still loving it, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who were watching it along with us still ended up loving it, and that's
Yeah.
what I still loved it. Like, I still enjoyed it. There was things that, like, from an analytical perspective, I had to say, well. But I definitely give other ones a shot. They are awesome. And Josh as well, who is also following us. I was surprised at how many guys were like, oh yeah, we'll come along for the ride.
Yeah.
We love you.
We love
Was
you
this
so
Josh's
much.
first
Yeah.
K-drama? No.
No.
No, it's not. He's watched many more.
Yeah.
He was on a Seo Jun kick, I guess.
Yeah. I remember we were all watching Crash Landing on You together.
Yeah.
I still have to finish Itaewon Class. I'm still watching that, by the way. Oh my god.
Wait,
So
so you're
that's
still
on my
watching
list,
Crash
too.
Landing and
Very clear
Itaewon
to see that.
Class?
Yeah, I'm like at the end.
She's
very-
bad. She doesn't finish stuff.
Well, Corey will walk into the room and he's like, "This looks good. I want to watch this with you." And I'm like,
No. We're 8 episodes into 16 now.
You got to catch up on your own time and then get back with me.
I know it takes forever, man. It takes forever. But anyways,
So
this was fun.
yeah.
It was fun.
All right. So thank you everyone for coming out. If you are looking for Nat online, where can you find her?
And also thank you, Mally, for your amazing
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
point of moment. Like, that helped me get through the last 8 episodes of the show. So my heart's out to you.
Mally
right.
reached out to us and gave us our stream of consciousness.
Yeah. And the last one was, I just don't have anything left to say, which is great. But you can find me at Ashes for Foxes on Twitter. Hopefully soon I am working on getting a new computer for my new project, which is explicitly introducing people to the genre, and especially across the different mediums, looking at how everything is changed. So yeah, anyway, blah, 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 blah. Just find me online. Yell at me.
Love it.
And Caitlin?
You can find me on Twitter at Caitlin Plusher, and I have my Star Wars podcast, which is Sky Talkers, but Twitter is where I talk about dramas, or here.
And Ty?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Wit and Folly. You can find me on Twitter at my @wit_folly account, or at my personal @black_TYM.
And I'm Marie Claire Gould. I'm Marie C. Gould on Twitter. What the Force is finally coming back after like my month long. I'm not posting anything for a month because I'm tired. Break. Starting on Monday. So come out, listen to the show. I also have a Star Wars podcast because that's all the rage these days. Or something. Even though there's no content. Right
It's
now.
timeless.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But thank you everyone for coming out.
Thanks for having us. This is a fun experiment. And
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
enjoy.
On the edge of a dream, two souls meet in the place winter, you felt the cold. Tired sighs and lonely fall. Dreaming of the day the past will burn. Longing to belong, his heart yearns. Summer soul look into the skies, watching time